Okay, so let's jump into our conversation today. We've got two amazing experts to guide us through our topic. First, I'm excited to introduce you to Nancy Daniel. Nancy Daniel is the founder of Chai, a brand dedicated to bringing authentic South Indian chai to the US. Originally a software engineer, Nancy discovered her true passion for food, leading her to culinary school in Boston. She later earned an MBA from Boston University and has spent nearly a decade in the food industry. With experience managing a flour bakery branch, running her own cafe in India, and working in high-paced kitchens, she combines her business acumen with deep culinary expertise. At Madhrasi Chai, she is on a mission to create moments of joy and connection through the perfect cup of chai. I just love that. So great to have you, Nancy.
Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everybody.
Wonderful. And next we have Angelina Ramirez. Angelina Ramirez is a marketing and business development leader with over 20 years of experience driving brand growth for Fortune 200 companies, startups, and nonprofits. She successfully spearheaded strategic marketing initiatives at American Express, PepsiCo, and Philip Morris, leveraging consumer-centric analytics to craft impactful brand strategies. As the former executive director of the Washington Heights Business Improvement District, she played a pivotal role in advancing economic development for over 3,000 small businesses in northern Manhattan. Currently, as the founder and president of the Amblin Group, Angelina excels in delivering strategic marketing and communication solutions for government agencies, nonprofits, and small businesses. Great to have you here, Angelina.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Wonderful. We've got the perfect lineup. So there's nothing else I need to say. Let's just go ahead and jump into our content today. So, Nancy, I really want to start with you. What role has storytelling played in shaping your brand and customer relationships?
Oh, wow. Storytelling has been everything. I think it makes every single part of my business. Like food is not just food. We know that food is so much more than that. It holds so much memories to us. Like the mac and cheese that your mom used to make, maybe the sambar sadam that my mom used to make that I grew up eating. We long for that. When we move to a different country, and most of us do, might be even to a different state, it doesn't matter. But when you move away from home, you know, that bite of food that brings back all those memories rushing away to you. That is chai for me. And I think that is chai for every Indian, at least 90% of the Indians who love chai. And when you come to the US and you try the chai, it is nowhere close to what you used to have. It is nowhere kindles any of those memories. You actually are like, what? This is not chai. What is this? And that is where I was. And that is why I started making chai concentrates. So anyone can make a good chai. All they have to do is add milk and your chai is ready. And that brings so much happiness when people have my chai. I'm going to give you two circumstances that I'll never forget. One is we had a tasting at Harvard University. There were so many students who had come in for they just come moved to the US. They were there for like a couple months then, I guess. There was a girl who came by. I had no idea, right? Like who's coming and trying my chai. I have no clue. There was this girl who came by who tried and she started crying. And I was like, oh my God, like what happened? Is everything okay? Is the chai okay? And she was like, no, this feels like home and I miss home so much. And for the first time, I feel like I belong here. And that was something that brought so much happiness to me. And another one, we had a stall at Snowport, Seaport in Boston. And there was this whole family who had come by to get chai. They tasted it and they were like, they started singing happy birthday for his dad because his dad loves chai and just having singing birthday over chai was like the best thing that happened for them that whole day. So those are so important to me and those make it all so worthwhile, every single thing that we do. So Brittany, can you bring up the first slide for me, please?
Yes, absolutely.
So what I just told was the story behind how I started Madrasi and why I started Madrasi. And one thing that I've realized, I hope you guys connected with the reason behind I started it. And that is so important for us as small businesses to bring out the reason of why we do what we do. And that's one important lesson I've learned. So, why do I do what do I do is something that I've pondered upon so much. And everything that I talk revolves around it. Everything that I portray through my social media, when I talk to a customer, when I talk about my brand, it brings that out. When you know why you're doing it, what you say is authentic because you are saying the truth and you know why you're doing that. We all know this already. We just don't dive deep into it. Like for example, Apple. We know why Apple is such a so many fans for Apples. You don't even think you only think what Apple phone you want to get. You never think if you should get Apple or Android. When you're an Apple fan, you're an Apple fan because they challenge the status quo and you relate with that. I relate with that. So that's when we do that. And Southwest Airlines, they give you friendly, reliable, low cost travel. And when they say that, they believe it. And when a brand says why they do what they do and they actually show that in their actions, that is when we connect with them. And that is when we believe in their story. And I've seen that firsthand with Madrasi. When I tell people why I do this, they connect with it. They connect with the story behind it. And they connect with me in a different level. And that has helped me in many ways, which I'm going to touch base like in a little bit later too. And I love a book here, which I have to refer. It starts with Why by Simon Sinek. I'm sure many of you have read it. It is an amazing book. It has made me think through so many parts of my marketing, of my business, and everything. I'd highly recommend it. If you guys have never read it, please do go and read it.
I love that. That's such a powerful start as to why storytelling means so much when you're running a business. Thank you so much for sharing that. And my next question is for Angelina. So when we're thinking about storytelling, what are the key elements of a powerful brand story that businesses should be focusing on?
Yes, thank you so much. And I love Nancy's story for various reasons. Number one, and I'll be touching on some of them in terms of the key components, the authenticity and values that she was referring to, as well as emotional connection. So those two are definitely key aspects of brand storytelling. So I'll talk about that. And the second reason I love Nancy's story, what she was just talking about, is whether you're a small business or a Fortune 100 company, global billion-trillion-dollar company, right? These are the pieces, the parts of marketing that are super important, regardless of the size or the state of your business. But I'll talk a little bit more about that. So, to your question, key components of a powerful brand. So, a strong brand story isn't just like a nice to have. Today, it's a requirement and it's a very important tool. And it's the reason why is because it helps differentiate you, right, from your competition, but it also builds trust and it also helps with long-term success of your business. So there are many reasons as to the why doing this work is super important, especially in the infancy stage of when you're starting your business, right? So if you have a great story, it's going to attract customers and they're going to be lifelong fans. So that being said, for me at least, some key elements to a brand story. Well, number one, your origin story, right? Exactly, how did this happen? Why did you found the company? When did you create it? What was the impetus, right? What was the rationale behind it? So that's number one. Number two, your purpose. What problem do you solve? When did you first discover that there was a problem? And then how did you figure out that your solution would meet that problem? Three is what Nancy spoke about, authenticity and values. What beliefs drive the brand? And it's important that this be consistent throughout the entire life and marketing aspect of your business. And how do these beliefs drive how you align with your customers' values? So they have to make sense, they have to resonate. And then that's that emotional connection. I mean, literally, Nancy brought her product brought tears, right? It's that connection, that history, that also is brand loyalty too, right? We tend to stick to the brands we grew up with because we have that emotional connection. And so, one of the companies that I work with, Pepsi, focuses a lot on that when it comes to young adults and making sure that, from a young age, they're resonating with them and in the way in which they do their marketing. And then, the last piece of this, key element is transformation and impact. Really, how does your brand or your product impact the lives of your customers in a positive light, right? Whether it be, and maybe it's not only your customers, maybe it's the industry, or maybe you're a nonprofit and it's focusing on a community. What is it that you're actually doing to impact, those around you? So those are kind of the key elements. Once you have those key elements, then we go to the second stage, which is crafting, right? Crafting that story. So, in order to craft an impactful story, you should, number one, understand your audience. And you're going to hear me talk about market research a lot throughout my presentation. But and you're also going to hear me, and I'm going to explain an important framework, an oldie but a goodie. We talk about the three C's, your company, your competition, and your consumer. Your consumer is the most important aspect of your marketing process. So you have to understand, right? Your audience and exactly what is it that they need? What are their pains? What are their aspirations? What are their motivations? Because that's how you're going to communicate with them. Number two is to be able to relate to that audience, right? And that's why I said Pepsi, right? Pepsi have a choice of a new generation. That's why, when you see who their influencers are and who they've had promotions with, it's generally whoever is popular from a music standpoint at that point in time. Many moons ago, when I was at Pepsi, it was Beyonce. Not long ago, it was, Michael Jackson, Britney Spears, and I'm talking about many, many moons ago, right? So, as in present moment, Pepsi chooses people that resonate with that young audience so that they can connect with them. It's also important to keep it simple. When you make things too complex or too complicated, it doesn't really resonate and it's not memorable. It has to be engaging for sure, but also simple in a way that connects. And somebody's asking what were the three C's. We're going to talk about that in a few questions later, so don't you worry about that. And then finally, again, make sure that whatever you're saying is relevant to the time and being sensitive, because there have been ads out there that just fell flat because they didn't resonate with the audience, or it wasn't, they didn't have an awareness of what was going on from a societal standpoint. So make sure it's relevant. Two quick examples, because obviously Nancy had her wonderful example as a small business owner. Nike, right? Just do it. It's not just about selling sneakers or shoes. Nike's about empowerment. I don't know if you guys saw the amazing commercial they had for the Super Bowl, but it was all these amazing women, right? And diverse women, and how, they overcame and focusing on perseverance and grit, right? So it features athletes overcoming diversity. That's what Nike does. Dove also does a wonderful job today, real beauty, right? So transforming, women not only from the inside, but also from the outside. And it's about self-esteem. And it's something that really resonates and connects with its users. So again, it doesn't have to be complicated, but you have to know your audience and you have to connect with them in a way that is relevant to them and the times. So I would say those are my key processes, right? When it comes to developing an awesome brand story.
Oh, I love that so much, and just the structure of Nancy sharing her story and then us really seeing that connection, Angelina, where you literally laid out all the important pieces. And I feel like we got that retrospectively with Nancy's story. So it really is it truly is a craft. I know you mentioned crafting it and delivering it in the right way. That really is a skill and something that you have to work on. And it really does change like the emotional connection. Like I'm ready to go have some chai for sure. Okay, my next question, Angelina, is for you as well. What are some effective ways to align that storytelling with our sales goals, right? Because at the end of the day, we kind of want to connect those things.
Yeah. So, when it comes to weaving, right, because it's a weave, it has to be seamless and it has to make sense, right? So when it comes to weaving your story into the sales process, again, the emotional connection. And again, Nancy's story was great because that's kind of like your first step, right? The awareness with emotion, with engagement, right? This back and forth, and then conversion. So it's kind of this three-pronged approach. And that's what we call the customer journey, this three-stage. So number one is awareness. Number two, consideration. And number three, the decision, the conversion. So some examples. Awareness is, again, it's when a startup tells their origin story, right? And uh, in marketing, that's kind of like the campaigns that are out there that are really driving just awareness for the brand and the offering. So that's step one. Step two then is consideration. And that's really where you want to showcase testimonials, right, from your customers, sharing about their experiences, really overcoming that first kind of, okay, I heard about this, but I want more information. Tell me more. And then the third piece is really the decision making, right? And that goes from consideration to, okay, I'm going to convert and I'm going to buy. And that's when case studies of success really, and these are just some examples, but I'm going to go into more detail. But I would say that from this first step, the customer journey is key when it comes to sales and when it comes to when you're talking about your story. So when it comes to tracking, right, those different metrics of the customer journey, there are different things that we can look at to see if they're successful, right? Again, first step being awareness, second step being kind of this consideration, and third being conversion. Some things to look at. Click-through rates. Right. So, maybe you're doing an ad or, maybe you're participating in a panel like we're doing today. Right. And you post about it and you'll see definitely on my documents, right, that I'm going to post my website. So perhaps, the fact that there was traffic to my website, click-through rate, right? Time spent on my page. How long did people go to, the homepage? Did they go to our services? Did they make an appointment? How long they watched videos, right? So these are some like engagement. Lead generation, did they sign up for emails? Did they download, many books that you might have had? Did they request demos? Conversion rates. So this is when you know that it's working. Purchases, subscriptions, signups. So this is really the way that you're thinking about, okay, this is the customer journey, and these are the things that I can expect to happen during the journey to connect the sales dots, right? Some wonderful ways of including, storytelling with marketing. Email is a wonderful way, right? And it's a little passive. It's not as aggressive as, phone calls, right? But it's a nice way of really being able to convey, to discuss, to talk about, to bring to life your brand. So, email is a great way. The subject matter is key. Right? We know that because the subject line can either make or break whether somebody is opening your email. So that's an important aspect, and you need to test that out. But emails are key. Social media videos. I mean, everybody knows this today, but that's there was a time 5 years ago when people were like, "Oh, you're going to see video is going to be everywhere," and of course we have TikTok and now static, flat posts. Not, the engagement you don't see there. Video is really a wonderful way, whether you're talking about your product, your services, or your history, a wonderful way. I'll just give you some examples, right? Airbnb. Okay. They use hosts reels, right? In their marketing, they make, their customers feel comfortable and safe and part of the community. Another one is Warby Parker. The great thing about Warby Parker is that, it resonates with customers, right? They're not so expensive. They're easy to do. You can they're convenient because you can get options at home. And so because of that, they also have a lot of repeat business. And that's a wonderful way of showing from a metric standpoint conversions.
Yeah, the different areas to look at to really see, is my storytelling impactful, and there's data behind it. Because I know for me, sometimes it feels like a story is enough. Like I feel like that was a great story, it was emotional, it was good, but being able to connect it to, like you said, those click rates, are people watching? Are they, that helps you kind of like dial down on your strategy and make sure you're making smart choices. I
Yeah.
love that. Okay, Nancy, my next question is for you. Can you share an example of how storytelling directly impacted your customer engagement or sales?
Sure. Angel, like whatever Angelina said was amazing. And it really helped me add a few points to what I was going to talk about. Uh, she spoke about awareness, consideration, and conversion. I'm going to give a very simple example of how that exactly played through or plays through every single day in my company. I'm a small business, and so it's very apparent in a small business, more apparent than it would be in a bigger businesses, I would think. So, okay, I'm gonna give you how I do my marketing usually. So for me, my one of my major set of customers are cafes, right? So I started this because I wanted to give cafes a good chai concentrate. So how do I do that? I literally fill up a carafe with chai, a Stanley carafes, because people recognize as Stanley carafes, and I take that and I walk into a cafe. I remember I do not know anyone in the cafe when I walk in. So that is my first step, walking into a cafe. It is totally awkward, guys. You should know that. But when I walk in, that is my first step of awareness, and I know I got few seconds before I convey the information to them about why I'm there for. So, and the person who I'm going to talk to would most probably be the person on the counter who might or might not be the owner. 90% they're not the owner, but still you're going to go talk to them. So I go in and I have this flask with me. I have it in my hand and I'm like, "Hey, hi, I'm Nancy. We make authentic chai concentrate locally right here in New England. Would you like to try some?" So this is my simple short statement. And that is when the two words that people usually connect with is authentic and made locally. So they immediately ask me, "Hey, so when you say authentic, you mean that it is actual real chai?" And I was like, I'm instead of me talking more about it, you should give it a try. And I pour a small sample for them and give it to them. So they try it. And the moment they try it, it's usually they're mind blown with the taste. If they haven't tried chai before, they're mind blown with it. If they have tried chai, like the proper chai before, it immediately takes them back to that memory. And that is when I go to the next step of giving them some more information about my chai. And I'm like, so I take out my chai concentrate packet, I show it to them, and then I tell them, so this is a concentrate that we do. All you have to do is add milk and you get what you tasted right now. So that is the product. I'm displaying it right in their face and they see it. And I tell them, "Hey, I've been in the food industry for 10 years and I hated the chai latte that you usually get in cafes. That's why I started making it. So I would love to leave a sample for you if you want to share it with your team, with anyone who's responsible for figuring this out, to decide any beverage manager or anybody. This is for you guys if you want to take it." Uh, and I want, Brittany, can you pull the slides up, please? So that is how I do the first part of what Angelina mentioned. It is the awareness part. So the awareness here, that was a small story, right? Like how I do it. And this very perfectly fits into the success part just in the slide here. So simple. It is a very simple statement that I say usually. It's the authentic chai concentrate. And that people can relate to. People know chai. Whoever I'm talking to, they know chai. They know what authentic means. So not complicating things, but also conveying the information in a small sentence makes a world of difference. Then once that simple thing is there, then it is unexpected. They taste the chai, it's a surprise for them. They don't expect it to be that good. So they are surprised. And then I show a product and I explain it. That's the concrete information. So it's not like, okay, this is a fuzzy information. I don't know how I can do this. But now they see the concentrate, they know that they can recreate the same thing in their cafe. And then I talk about me. I talk about how I've been in the food industry for 10 years. So that gives credibility to my chai. And then I connect with them emotionally when I say, I've been in the food industry for 10 years and I grew up with chai. I have so many memories. We all have memories around food, and you connect with anyone over that. Like if you don't have anything to talk about, it's weather and food that we all talk about, right? So that is how your story should be structured. And I mean, I'm not saying this. This is something that I learned from Chip Heath and Dan Heath in their book Made to Stick. It's an amazing book again. I don't read a lot of books. I know I suggested one, and this is the second one, but I love these two books. So if you have time, please go read it. I usually use Audible. And so I'm a small business, as I told you. This is something that I started, and to figure out this whole process, that is where I had to do market research. This is not something that I did from the very first day. So I tried different approaches and figured out what works and what did not. So when I did this way, it always worked. And this is still just the awareness part of it. Now people know about my chai. The next step is getting an email and then sending an email to whoever is responsible for making that purchase decision. And the email again has to be short and concise. Guys, I know it's so hard to make anything short and concise because we have a lot to tell always, but that is the only way it works. Anytime my email is more than 5 lines, I never get a reply. If my email is just 2 lines, I get a reply. So try to keep it as short as possible. They will ask for, keep it curious, keep the curiosity going. They can ask for more information always. So that is one thing that I've learned from. I started my emails with 2 paragraphs and now it's 2 lines. So there you go. That's how you learn from your own mistakes. And anytime it is 2 lines, I really like 80% of them definitely reply back. And the remaining 20% also reply, but after a couple emails of following through. And conversion takes time. And you should also remember when you are marketing, you're not going to get all of them to be converted to be your customers. So you should always be ready to take that. You can convert only people who actually relate with you, who understand your why, and also who stands by your why. So if they think they want to give authentic chai to their customers, if they really value the food that they give to their customers, then they would get converted. If they don't really, sometimes people might say they do care, but if they really don't care too much about it and it's okay for them to give a subpar chai, they're not going to get converted. Like, I know this is all around chai. Sorry, but this very easily you can transfer this into your company, into whatever you're selling, and online too. Like Angelina gave you a great explanation about like tracking and finding how much conversion rate you get. And this is applicable to in-person, to online, social media ads, to your click rates in your websites, everything. Um, yeah, so I mean, this is how I've converted like 50 plus cafes in a year's time, and hopefully this year we'll convert. Our goal is 120 cafes this year, so fingers crossed. Let's see if that works. But this is how I've learned. This is my mistakes, and these are the things I've learned.
Oh, I love that. And we'll see you back next year so we can celebrate with you on the 120 plus cafes. So many good tips in it. And I just want to recognize I am seeing some really good questions in the chat. And so don't worry, we will answer as many as possible when we get to the Q&A segment. So, but it sounds like a lot of this is really, really resonating. Angelina, my next question is for you. Okay, what are some of the biggest storytelling mistakes that you see businesses make?
Yeah. I think overall, businesses recognize that storytelling is important, right? And honestly, when I teach courses and when I have clients, we focus a lot on that elevator pitch because to Nancy's point, it just doesn't happen, right? You just don't like, poof, I'm perfect. No, it does take practice, iterations, um, taping yourself, asking for input to get it right, right? So it's not like an overnight thing that you just, it becomes perfect. And Nancy knows by trial and error, okay, this didn't work, this email was too long, and that's the important part, not getting frustrated and understanding that anything in life, it's testing, it's A/B testing, whether it's email, whether it's pitch, whether it's other types of marketing, it requires testing. So I think most people recognize the importance of storytelling. That being said, there are some pitfalls. So, number one, um, making the brand the hero and not your customer the hero. So you really have to put the customer at the center of this process. Sometimes brands and businesses focus too much on themselves and talking about their history or their achievements versus focusing on the customer, right? Because the customer is always right. And so the fix is, again, position the customer as the hero, right? Make it about them. So it's almost like Yoda, right? Helping Luke Skywalker, right? Even though everybody loves Yoda, it was less about Yoda and it was more about Luke Skywalker. So an example would be instead of saying our product is the best, right? You would say something along the lines of, here's how a small business doubled revenue using our tool, right? You're still talking about your company and the fact that you have this tool and that it's helpful, but it becomes less about you and more about your client and how they were successful and how you helped, right? So it's tweaking. Second, being too generic or too cliche. And we could, especially if you're in IT or in marketing like me, it's easy to fall down that path, right? Especially when you overuse certain words like we're passionate about our quality or we have great customer service. What does that even mean, right? Because it's very subjective, what that means to different people. So, here, the important thing is for you to share specific and real life stories that make your brand unique. So, again, instead of we help businesses grow, you may say something along the lines of how a a mompreneur turned her kitchen hobby into a six-figure business, right? Again, less about you, more about the business, it being less generic and specific about an entrepreneur who's a mom, right? Obviously, six figures, so making money and how you helped. Another one is being inconsistent, and this is more marketing oriented, right? Particularly when it comes to the different platforms. So if you have a website and you have social media and you have YouTube videos and you have brochures and you're not being consistent, whether it's something as basic as your logo or your colors to the services you provide, the links that you go to, right? So it's important that you, throughout all of your communication channels, that you be consistent and cohesive so that it makes sense. And because, that actually smells of like you not being professional. And this is kind of low-hanging fruit and something easy that you could fix, right? So again, using Nike, that kind of focus on perseverance and about inspiration is consistent throughout all of its channels. And then one that I find that is, and this is very more sales and business oriented, is not having a clear call to action or CTA, right? So, what's the point of having a great video or a great brochure or a great email if you're not really telling the customer what it is that you would like or making it easy for them to take action, right? So, always, whether it's a subscribe or buy or click here, make sure that you have a call to action and that it's obvious and that it's clear because again, this is about making money, right? And about sales. So, make sure that on, whether it's your social, whether it's on your LinkedIn, whether it's on your website, that you have clear call to action. So I would say those are kind of the top four that I recommend when it comes to storytelling. The first three really do pertain to content, but the fourth is more about, okay, you've told your story. Now what, So, yeah.
Yes, and I like in the beginning when you were talking about getting specific with this, it took the same amount of time to say like we're super passionate, we have great quality, as it did that, 60% of our businesses doubled their income. Like it's the same amount of time. I have the same amount of attention span to listen to both of those sentences, and one just is so much more impactful. So
Yes.
I love that. Okay, my next question is for you again, Angelina. If a business owner is starting from scratch, yeah, I think we're getting into it. So I'm gonna cue up the slides. Um, so if a business owner is starting from scratch, what's the first step they should take to integrate storytelling into their marketing?
Yeah. Okay. So I am an oldie and a goodie, I would say. And so is this framework. Today, and Nancy mentioned some great books and Simon Sinek, and there's, Neil Patel, and there's so many great marketers out there that I can name. But to be honest with you, I love teaching this to clients because I feel like it's very kind of simple and straightforward, and it's just obvious, especially for the small business owner. So again, through AOF, I help with marketing, and when I have my meetings with the client, this is the first framework that I teach them, even before I find out what their issue or their question is when it comes to marketing. We go straight into doing this kind of work for them. Your three C's: your company, your competition, and your consumer. And how I like to frame it is as this: company is what you say. Competition is how you say it, and consumer is who you are saying it to. So company, right? It's pretty obvious, right? Okay, your company name, who the owners are, right? And for Nancy, she's from India. I mean, it doesn't get any more authentic than selling chai, right? From somebody who has firsthand experience from it, right? So who the owners are matter. Their experiences matter. Your website, your mission, your vision, again, that pertains to the values that you have, and that you relate those values back to your clients or your consumers, your objectives, your goals, your strategies, all this pre-work. So you do some of this in a business plan, but unfortunately, when you do a business plan, it's kind of broad strokes on all the different aspects of a business: your finance, your operations, your accounting, etc. A marketing plan really delves deep into these aspects, right? Understanding your company. And within this company aspect is when you talk about your brand story, your identity, right? And this is where you start crafting, not only why your business exists, but who you serve, right? Why did you start this business? What problem do you solve? How do you improve customers' lives? What makes your product different and special? That's kind of in the company, but a little bit, but then you go into competition. And that's really when you flesh that out. Competition, we look at direct, McDonald's versus Burger King, right? Both, convenient, fast, kid-friendly, sell burgers, right? But if we're talking about need, what need is McDonald's giving to the marketplace? Well, it's really about the convenience and the fast. It doesn't necessarily have to be a burger. It could be a sandwich shop, right? It could be Subways, it could be pizza. So looking at who your competition is extremely important, because by looking at who your competition is, that's how you're going to differentiate yourself and look at your competitive advantages. And when you talk to people about your company and your brand, it's in terms of how you are different and how you are special, right? So it's still aspects of your company, but in a way that differentiates you. So that's why the second piece, your competition, and doing market research is important. Market research in terms of surveying and interviewing your customers, Doing competitive analysis, going to their website, signing up for their e-newsletters, going to their social media, going into their stores, going to the libraries and looking, all, their pricing, the product, their ingredients, understanding all of that is important because that's how you're going to differentiate yourself. And then the third piece, which is again the most important piece, is your consumer, right? Your target audience. And you could have multiple target audiences. You can go straight to a consumer, so B to C, business to consumer. So Pepsi sells sodas to people who drink, right? But Pepsi also sells their products to stores and to cafeterias. So they're also B2B, right? I have a business and my clients are other businesses. So I'm B2B. And even within that, you could have little b, business to small business, or you could be B to big B or corporation, right? So, and all of these targets are different. Their demographics, the decision making, where they're located, their pains. And that's why doing target research is another important aspect. You also look at when it comes to target, the important piece here is truly understanding their needs, okay, and their pains. So this framework, again, like I said, an oldie and a goodie, I think is really great for a small business owner because it makes you're able to do this in a very streamlined way without complicating things. I'll quickly give you an example, right, of a sustainable skincare brand, their company, competition, and consumers. So, company. Our company was founded with a simple mission to create clean, effective skincare products using sustainable ingredients. We believe in transparency and ethical sourcing, ensuring every product is safe for both people and the planet. So, it's a company. Competition. Many skincare brands claim to be natural, but their products often contain hidden chemicals, excessive plastics, packaging, lack sustainability, etc. The market is filled with these brands that prioritize profit over purity. That's competition. We're not about, right? Us. Our customers are eco-conscious individuals who care about what they put on their skin and the impact they have on the environment. They want skincare that works without compromise, and they trust us because we provide genuinely clean products with full transparency. So that's an analysis of the company, the competition, and the consumer. Now, this is an internal document, right? You, from that, build stories, build marketing, build your elevator pitch. But in order to be able to do that, you have to do this pre-work, your 3 C's: company, competition, consumer. What you say, how you say, and who you say it to.
Right. I love that. I've never heard the 3 C's explained in that specific framework, like what you say, how you say it, and who you're saying it to. It makes it like even more impactful
I
when we're thinking
created
about
that one.
oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I knew we had the right people here. And then I have another slide for you right here, Angelina, about the sales funnel. Is this the right time? Oh,
That's for the next one, yeah.
okay. Thank you. Oh my goodness. I'm just getting caught up in all the good information. Okay. My next question is for Nancy. So how do you naturally incorporate storytelling into your marketing and your customer interactions?
Thank you, Brittany. So again, Angelina brings amazing points and puts it together beautifully. And I'm going to slightly touch base on that and then get into my whatever I was going to say about it. So company competition and consumer is like that's having a document like that helps so much when you are lost on creating anything for your marketing purposes. I am not at all a marketing person. I call myself a people person, and many people have told me that equates to a salesperson because that's basically it. You're selling yourself, you're selling a product, and they're believing in you. But creating the company, so figuring out all of that is very important, and I will show how I've incorporated marketing in my company details. The two things that I want to just slightly tell you is competition with social media. There is so much competition out there. So first, try to narrow down to a few, like maybe a handful, and go through them and figure out how you guys are different from your competition, that five competition, and then stop. Don't keep going on and on into the downward spiral of going through every competition out there all the time, because it drains us out of energy and we start becoming, it's just you keep looking at them all the time. What you're supposed to do is look at them and then figure out what you should do and then stop right there, and then maybe periodically check if something else has come up. Don't get obsessed over it. Everyone in the world is not your competition. Absolutely not. So it's a good way to learn from them. Just think about it that way, because I've gone through that spiral. That's why. And then consumers, it's kind of hard in the beginning to figure out who your consumers is. And one thing I've heard from many people who start the businesses say, oh, everyone's my consumer. That is not an answer ever. But if it takes time to figure that out, that's okay. But remember, by at least 1 year, once you're done your business for a year, you should have figured out by end of that year who your consumers are. The characteristics that Angelina mentioned, there will be a few that you can easily note it down. Like the B2B is my consumer, this particular business is my consumer. So these are my targets, and you can categorize them very easily. So have an eye out for that. Keep your market research going till you figure out details about your company, the competition, and consumer, and that is very, very important. So going forward, you can see the Madrasi M on top is my logo. And just that logo is built over so I'm from Madras, hence the name Madrasi. So it talks about authenticity even without me saying anything. Anyone can look at that logo and know that this is definitely not American. There is something different about it. And anyone who's from India knows that Madras is from India. So it immediately shows, the logo should show, or any of your, it's one way of showing that I'm an authentic brand from India, owned by an Indian chef. Life's too short to drink bland chai is our tagline. We came up with it, like discussed with a few friends when we came up with it, but I was surprised how many people really, really connect with it. That's because so many people really understand how chai is bland here. And I've had people email me asking, can you make a t-shirt with a tagline on so we can buy it? And I was over the moon. I've still not made it, but I want to do it. And so many people have done that. So creating something like that that is short and shows your business creates a world of difference. I have two pictures here for, I just wanted to share a couple of examples. So that's a small pop-up in the winter market that we had for chai. And one thing that we realized, we had multiple people work at the booth for selling. The one person who sold the most at the booth was the most silent person who would talk only very few sentences. It was so surprising. She would sell double the amount of concentrate and chai than anyone else. And that just blew me off. I was like, I would stay there and watch what she was doing. She did nothing different at all. But she said only few words and the right words. Being simple and concise, you guys. That is so very important. And that for us as founders means we have to forget our pre-existing knowledge. There are so much going on in our brain and that we know, but we should always put us in the customer's shoes and think from their angle and then talk about it. So that's so important when we're doing it. And I also wanted to show this particular review, which we got from a holiday market. And this review, posting this review online gave me like, I think 20 more orders that day just because we posted this. So that brings genuine, so getting someone's feedback and sharing it is so important. And you will have to keep constantly doing that. And that is validating our product, whatever our product might be. We cannot afford celebrities to endorse like Pepsi, and we do not have to have celebrities to endorse a product. It has to be someone who believes in your product, endorsing it because they love your product, because they believe in you, they believe in your product. And that is more than enough. I mean, we can go to celebrities when we have the money for that. But for now, I think this is good enough. That's me.
Oh, I love that. And I think sometimes even the person that's just like regular, sometimes that works better for me as a consumer. I'm like, oh, that's someone just like me. Like I'll buy it if it's good enough for me if she loves it. Okay, Angelina, I think we are moving into our last couple of questions before we get to our Q&A. So we're gonna try and get through these next couple questions pretty briefly, but for everyone, we did share ways to stay in contact with Angelina and Nancy. And I want to take some time to, we'll redrop those in the chat, just because I know there have been some specific questions for them. And so I just want to make sure everyone has time to get those. So I'm going to go ahead and share a slide here. But Angelina, what are some specific ways business owners can integrate storytelling into their sales funnel?
So in the interest of time, I'm going to stick to this slide, right? Especially since this will be, this is being recorded and they can refer to this, right? So again, I mentioned this early on. There are 3 stages, right, when it comes to the sales funnel. First is this awareness piece, right? And that's where you want to capture their attention. The second one is where they're considering, right? And so they need data points. And the third is this decision making that you convert and you get whatever it is that your your action that you're intending to get, right? So again, awareness, introduce the brand, connect. Some examples here, share founder stories, talk about some customer pains and how you've relieved them, and some engagement, some examples, social media, blogs, etc., right? In this second one, where you're building trust, right? This is where you're more testimonials, right? Like that quote that Nancy just talked about, that actually led to conversions and orders, right? Because, and she's absolutely right, having a Kim Kardashian, having big name influencers, I think today, especially since I also work with influencers, I work with micro ones because they have more loyalty, plus they're more affordable, but they have better engagement than those bigger, influencers. So I highly agree. And so that consideration stage is super important. And then the third piece is the conversion, right? And that's why, especially when you're doing sales, a lot of this also pertains to how you handle the buts or the no's or the objections, preparing for that and being able to answer those. But you also, sometimes there is a sense of urgency when you want to do this. Maybe it's like limited time offer, or it ends, at the end of the week, the percent that off that you get. But this right here is just a great way to build trust, get your brand out there, but inevitably get those sales.
Thank you so much, Angelina. And as Angelina mentioned, we will have the recording, so you'll have that. Nancy, my last question is for you. Can you share a time when a well-told story led directly to a sale?
I'm gonna quickly share that. So I have a couple examples to share with you. So this one is one on the left is the Brewing the American Dream pitch competition. So when I did the pitch competition, you tell a story, basically. When people actually connect with your story, that directly leads to purchasing. So example, I did the pitch, and even till today, I have so many people, so many customers who recognize me because of that pitch. They did not even taste my chai. They only listen to the pitch. When you give a great story, people buy. And I have cafes that brought they came to me asking for the chai after the pitch. So that just shows how amazing a great story is. And to the right, this is Golden Turmeric Mix is one of our products. And Chef Anna Sotun is a James Beard award-winning chef. So I met her when I was delivering chai to Sofra, her cafe. And she came and spoke to me about it. She asked my story. I told her about, and I'm a big fan of hers. So I was obviously super excited. I shared my story with her. And this is what was put on their shelf, which I had no clue of. I just went to Sofra the other day and I saw this. This is Chef Anna sharing my story from her perspective. So when your story is great and people connect, they share your story for you. And isn't that amazing? I was just mind blown that I was on Cloud Nine.
Ah, I love that. Again, it's like so much easier to buy in when other people are already, they're sharing your story, they're bought in. It's just, I love that. That's so powerful. And I love that you shared your experience being in a pitch competition, because that's like the pressure cooker of storytelling, I feel like. Okay, so let's move into our Q&A. So again, we dropped in the chat how you can stay in touch with Nancy and Angelina. I think Amber will drop them again. And that way, in case your question doesn't get answered, we have plenty more resources coming. So Angelina, I want to start with you because we've gotten a lot of questions just around how can I do storytelling in a way that's impactful or a way that's effective when I have not a physical brand, but a service-based business.
That's what I have. I have a service-based business, right? So whether it's a product, whether it's a service, whether it's local, national, global, process is still the same, right? But that's why using that framework makes it easier because I get it, right? Sometimes it's tangible, a Pepsi, right? Tangible, I know some people are like, oh, that I like Nike, right? Sneakers. So I understand why some people might think that having an object makes the marketing easier. It's not. That's why the framework, the 3 C's or that sales funnel, or doing the work, those books that Nancy recommended are amazing too. It guides you through the process. I know some people were asking me if I have a workbook. Maybe I will create a workbook out of this. But I know that it's sometimes easier to have something in front of you. And by the way, chat is also great. You can prompt it to help you as well. But no, whether it's a product or service, the process is still the same.
Love. When you mentioned chat, do you mean like AI or chat?
Sorry, yes, I'm sorry. I use chat, AI, but whether you're
Yeah.
using Genesis?
Gemini or
Gemini,
yeah,
sorry, or whether
yeah.
you're using Claude, there's so many out there, and they're all great. The key is having a good input. So do the 3 C's first for your company. Understand do your company, the name, the website, do your competitive analysis, do your, who your consumer is, write that all out and on a Word doc, attach it, and then ask chat again. I use chat, prompt it. What's a great, write a story for me. Now, mind you, it's going to create a very robotic one because that's what AI is, right? It's machine learning. You customize it to your language, but it's a wonderful springboard and it helps you. But yeah, I'd say, using that framework and then using AI can really help.
Thank you so much. And I know we're over time, but Nancy, there were so many questions about the email that you sent and how you kept it like brief and just that impacted the engagement you got. So do you have any advice for subject lines or where to start with those again? I think people just wanted some more information on that.
Yeah, so in the subject line, I always do authentic Madhrasi Chai for the cafe name, whatever that particular. So it is personalized to them. It's not just like a random automized message. And then inside, I would start with the one person I met at the place. So I connect with that because I'm not emailing the same person. I met someone else and I'm emailing a different person. So you have to mention that. So mentioning that puts you apart immediately. So you're not a random weirdo who's emailing somebody. So now you have more like, concrete information that they know that this is a person who walked into my cafe and this product was real. And they connect on that front with you. And then you mention how my product would be helpful for them. So you've already spoken, since I've already given the product, now they know my product. So I don't really emphasize too much anymore on me. Like, and Angelina touched on that. It has to be telling them. So I tell them about a cafe or a couple cafes in that area that has launched my product and what has happened after that. So mostly after they launch my product, they see an increase in chai sale because people like authentic chai. And so I emphasize on that. And I then mention a way in which either they can, so then that is the call to action at the end. So it's just very three things. One is mentioning that you saw someone at their cafe. Two, how my product is going to help them. Three, a call to action. Would you like to order some chai? Or depending upon how the conversation went, I would either ask them to order, or if they would like a free sampling at their cafe for their customers, I would ask for a particular date, or I would love to come and meet you in person. So one of these three based on how the conversations went. I have a Google Doc where I have this sitting, and I always use ChatGPT to like, sometimes tweak things too here and there. So it's always nice to have like a set of email formats. So you're not thinking every single time, and because it takes a lot of energy out of you. That's how my format usually is.
Oh, love that. Thank you so much. I know we're over time. I feel like we could do a whole nother webinar, like just starting here with all of the questions. But genuinely, I really want to thank Angelina and Nancy for coming and sharing their expertise, giving us a jam-packed hour of information. We would love to hear from you. What is something that you're going to take away? You can put that in the survey at the end. You can give us feedback. We definitely want to know so we can create more impactful webinars for you. And we hope to everyone here that you feel more prepared to tell your story for your small business. All the information will be sent out tomorrow in your follow-up email. Thank you, Angelina. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And we will see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.